Hello everybody, my name is Gregory Best, and welcome to Album Surgeon Reviews. Today I'm going to be kind of restarting kind of a video series that I initially started at the beginning of this channel back in November, where I ranked the entire discography of a certain artist. I initially did that with 21 Pilots. It was a really bad video in my opinion, but I feel like I brought up a couple certain points. Anyways, at the end of the video you can click the link up there to see the video. But we're not talking about 21 Pilots today. In fact, we're going to be talking about another band that I really enjoy, Panic at the Disco. Panic at the Disco, I was initially kind of listening to them back in 2013 with their song Miss Jackson. I remember listening to this song and having no clue what was going on. I just saw them recommended on a 21 Pilots video, who I had just recently discovered 21 Pilots then. So, kind of connected there. But, I remember not liking Miss Jackson, and I don't know why, because now Miss Jackson's like one of those songs that, you know, I would just want to like scream at the top of my lungs. I think it was just because My Song So Interested in the Dark by Fall Out Boy just recently came out, and maybe I thought it was a ripoff of that, I don't know. But, so, that was my first initial exposure to Panic at the Disco. Then I remember, one of my friends, I forgot which one it was, I believe Jared, he told me about Panic at the Disco, and, told me that it was one of his favorite bands, so, you know, I decided to check it out because, you know, friends, and, I actually listened to their fourth album, which was Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, and that was my first album I ever listened to by the band, and Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, I'll talk about it later, but at the time, you know, I thought it was really good. And then, I kind of dropped off of the band. I didn't really listen to them again until around late 2015, and then I heard Vices and Virtues for the first time, and then that kind of got me back into the band, and I started listening to the rest of their material. Well, actually, I believe first I listened to Night in the Afternoon, and it was like, oh yeah, this band, I should listen to them again. So, yeah, that's kind of my history with Panic at the Disco, and then that all led up to me seeing them live last Wednesday, which is the inspiration for this video. So, you know, just lots and lots of inspiration. Anyways, so today I will be ranking the entire band's discography, all 5 albums in my personal opinion. I know there's gonna be people with different opinions, and that's cool. Everybody has their own opinion. That's kind of what makes us human, just our different thought processes. So please, if you have a different list than mine, you can go ahead and leave it down in the comments. We can talk about it, you know, just discuss some music here. Anyways, so let's kick the list off with number 5. So my 5th and least favorite Panic at the Disco album is actually the first one that I heard from them, which will be Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. And in no ways is this a bad album. In fact, I still really do enjoy it every now and then. I come back to it, I listen to it, but I can't help but think that the singles are really the strongest part of this album. Of course, the singles being This Is Gospel and Miss Jackson as the 2 strongest singles from the album. This Is Gospel is just a really cathartic release for the drummer Spencer Smith. Well, a cathartic release for Brandon Urie after the drummer Spencer Smith got into drugs. That was kind of the whole, but that was kind of the whole ordeal coming from there. So you could definitely hear the emotion when he's screaming, "If you love me, let me go." It's a very good track. One of my favorites from them, actually, even though this is my least favorite album from them. And Miss Jackson, of course, well, it does have the Fall Out Boy feel with the chants and that kind of stuff. It's really fun, really powerful, and live, it's amazing. There's just fire everywhere, and he's screaming like at the top of his lungs, and it's really awesome. So yeah, really the album gets overshadowed by those 2 singles, but every once in a while there's a deep cut in there that I really do enjoy. Like, for example, actually my 3rd favorite Panic at the Disco song is on this album, that being Far Too Young to Die. And at the beginning, Far Too Young to Die just feels like another part of the grayscale soundscapes of the rest of the album, but right after, well, the bridge of the song, it's just this hard breakdown where it's just pure guitars and clattering drums while he's singing, well, not screaming, but melancholically singing Far Too Young to Die. It's really, really good. In fact, as I said before, it is my 3rd favorite Panic at the Disco song. Other tracks that I would like from the album would be like, let's say, The End of All Things. Colorful is really fun with its chorus, and just forgot the Casual Affair, mainly with the bridge, the whole I did it bridge. That's really cool in my opinion. But the album does have its major flaws. Number 1 being a very big lack of cohesivity with the album. if you have an album called Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, I would kind of like to see kind of like having the first half of the album being like very weird, oddballish, avant-garde, you know, being Too Weird to Live, and then having the back half of the album just being like these grandiose performances that are just too rare to die. So that kind of, you know, I would just kind of like that kind of cohesivity with it, and that's a lot of kind ofs, but, you know, that's just my personal taste. And then also, another thing about the album, it's just, there's a lot of, I don't know how to say this, it seems to be their safest record for an album entitled Too Weird to Live. It's very poppy and also kind of sticks to kind of the formulas that we were seeing in 2013 with other major alternative bands hitting the radio, kind of with the chants and that kind of stuff that Fall Out Boy and Imagine Dragons are bringing at that same time. So I could definitely see why fans were a bit hesitant to rally behind it at the time as well, just because some people thought it was selling out, but really, it's just kind of their most commercial release, in my opinion. But it's still a great album, definitely worth listening to. If you haven't heard it, you should listen to it. It's the album that got me into Panic at the Disco, even though it is my least favorite album from them. So, anyways, moving on from the album, we're going to album number 4, which would be, and please don't kill me in the comments section for saying this, but for their my second least favorite Panic at the Disco album, I should say my 4th favorite, would be A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Now, please don't kill me in the comments. I can perfectly explain this. You see, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is an amazing album that's just oftentimes detracted by its datedness and also its production flaws, just for the time being. It's kind of like seeing a band with major potential before they finally reach that potential. But I could totally see why people enjoyed this back in the day. This is, of course, a lot of the album that a lot of fans came to and found and, you know, grew to love the album, but at the same time, you have to admit the album does have its flaws, despite its nostalgic value. Being a fan of Panic at the Disco that came after it, I can, you know, look back at it, appreciate it, and enjoy quite a lot of the songs from it, like Nails to Breakfast and Tax for Snacks. That's a great track. Kamisato, a lot of the beginning half of this album is just great. There's funny little moments, like on Intermission, how he cuts it out like halfway through with the dance music, and then says like something like, "We interrupt this dance music for your regularly scheduled radio program," or something like that, and like it just goes with like all these grandiose pianos. So there's lots of fun moments like that. So it is a great album. It's surprisingly cohesive and has lots of, well, just lots of different details to it, but I do feel like it was a band before they reached their full potential. So that's kind of my thoughts on A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Overall, great. I still enjoy it. It is still one of my favorite albums of all time. Lots of fun tracks. Of course, has its big singles like I Write Sins Not Tragedies. Everybody knows that song. But so lots of great moments, lots of fun stuff on it. I definitely enjoy it. So that would probably just be my number 4, just because I'll kind of put it in a metaphorical way. A Fever You Can't Sweat Out is kind of like watching The Dark Knight on a $20 million budget. It's like the grandiose movie of The Dark Knight, just not with the full potential that it could have reached with the budget that it had. So that's kind of A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. It's the potential of the band. Now, moving on to my number 3, after you guys hopefully don't just hate me after saying that. But at number 3, we have Death of a Bachelor, our most recent release. Death of a Bachelor is the first album I got to hear from the band newly released. From being a fan of the band, and of course I enjoyed it very much. So a lot of the singles from the album really had me hyped. Like when Hallelujah first dropped in 2015, that was like the first time I listened to Panic at the Disco since Miss Jackson and not Fever You Can Sweat Out, and Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, and I really enjoyed it. It was a blast at the time. Of course, it kind of grew old after listening to it like 40,000 times at the end of my sophomore year of high school. So that kind of wore out after a while, and then he dropped Death of a Bachelor and Victorious, and those were really fun tracks. And then Emperor's New Clothes and LA Devotee and all these songs, just really a lot of great singles. Really, the only thing that is the downside to Death of a Bachelor is, yet again, the cohesivity, kind of like Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. There was just, well, the themes were connected with memories, that kind of stuff, and of course, falling in love with somebody as he married his wife in between these two albums. So there were connected themes, but at the same time there weren't connected songs. which I was disappointed by because from listening to other Panic! At the Disco albums, like A Fever You Can't Sweat Out or the other two albums, there's a lot of connectiveness between all the tracks. So that was definitely a big downer for me, but it was still a really fun album with not only great singles, as I mentioned before, but some really awesome deep cuts too. Like Golden Days is another one of my favorite Panic! At the Disco songs, just from how much power he has, just belting Golden Days at the end to this like kind of weird chord progression that every once in a while gets out of the key signature. And House of Memories, another track that's just awesome. If you haven't listened to House of Memories, I would suggest listening to it now. There's just so much melancholy and power behind not only the chords but his vocals, and I enjoy it very much so. So Death of the Bachelor comes in at number 3 with, well, it's not their best record, it is definitely not their worst, though none of their records are bad in my opinion. So after number 3, let's go to number 2. So at number 2, we have the band's first left turn with an album, Pretty Odd, which was initially not received very well by fans, surprisingly, but very well by critics, which is even more surprising since Panic! At the Disco were not critical darlings at the time. So yeah, Pretty Odd was kind of their turn towards 1960s, early 70s psychedelic, just 60s rock like the Beatles or the Beach Boys, with a lot of amazing tracks like Night in the Afternoon, of course, that big single. The opener, We're So Starving, which is actually pretty funny for the way it starts. We're so sorry we've been gone. We've been busy writing songs for you. So, yeah, there's lots of great tracks like that. She's a Handsome Woman. Also, just overall, it's a cohesive album. Like, there's just little interludes that play every once in a while, and it does remind you of some of the best music from the 60s and 70s, and the fact that they can pull off this music from an era that is so highly regarded as one of the best eras of music is really just kind of, you have to admire the musicianship, and the production actually makes it feel like an album from that decade, with the guitars being in one ear, or the drums being in one ear, or like the beginning piano of Night in the Afternoon in your left ear while the rest of the song is everywhere else, along with those psychedelic tastes. So it is like a perfect capturing of that era. It's like, let's say the Stranger Things of albums, like how Stranger Things kind of captured the 80s, this album captures the late 60s. So Pretty Odd is just, overall, it's pretty odd. Like, it actually lives up to the title, coming from like the famous pop punk band at the time, being a 1960s psychedelic album. So yeah, it was a left field turn that was a really risky move from the band, and just overall an awesome experience. If you have not listened to Pretty Odd, I would totally recommend it. It's one of my personal favorite albums of all time. I have the record on CD, and I usually don't buy an album on CD unless I really enjoy it. So yeah, Pretty Odd is almost pretty much perfect. So after you've gone through all these albums, after you probably hated me for saying some albums are better than others, but, you know, opinions, please don't hate me. But, we come up to my number 1 album from Panic! At the Disco. And this is actually surprisingly not a lot of fans' number 1 album. I've seen that as kind of like just kind of as a constant throughout like any fan discussion threads or like other album reviewers. Vices and Virtues is usually not the number 1, but for me, it is. As I said with A Fever You Can't Sweat Out being The Dark Knight on a $20 million budget, Vices and Virtues is The Dark Knight on a $200 million budget. Not only is this the band with all the ideas that they have at the time, but also the band with all the flawless production at the same time, all the brilliant ideas, and just all these different things that you cannot help but enjoy. It is not only the perfect pop rock record, but the perfect alternative record, the perfect experimental indie record. Oh man, there's just amazing. All around, it's amazing. From Trade Mistakes, which is my favorite Panic! At the Disco song of all time, just how melancholic it feels with like the bridge, how he's singing, I may never sleep tonight as long as you're burning bright. That part, it just hits you right down deep in there, especially with the production. The production on this album is something that stands out to me, as I have yet to hear many albums that surpass it. I mean, sometimes there are, like To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, that kind of stuff. But with that album, coming from the time that it came from, like, I believe 2011, it's it's just flawless. You have to admit that. It's a really fun album. It hits lots of emotional peaks. There's some insane songs like Let's Kill Tonight. When you listen to that song, you really have no idea what's going on. As Alternative Press said about this album, there's some very Tim Burton-esque moments with songs like Nearly Witches, which is my second favorite Panic at the Disco song, with like the grandiose string arrangements and like the weird all-ball style stuff going on in between your ears. So yes, this album is just, not only is it my favorite Panic at the Disco album, but it's in probably my top 7 favorite albums of all time, and that's saying something considering I've listened to a lot of music, and I like a lot of music. So, yeah, there's really nothing about Vices and Virtues that I can find wrong. There's freeform jazz in this album, for crying out loud. It is that good. Anyways, so, that was my list. I know this is pretty long-winded, Actually, this is my longest video to date, I believe. So, yeah. If you have a different list, you can let me know what you think about it in the comments. You can let me know your reasoning why, and, we can, like, just see each other's ideas, just bounce back off each other, and, have fun with this. I mean, it's an album review channel. This is what we should have. Fun, right? So, anyways, if you liked today's video, you can like right there. If you want to stick around and see some more videos like this, you can click right there to subscribe. I will also have another video out tonight, kind of a funnier video. This wasn't a funny video, but tonight I'll be starting kind of a Songs That Suck series, starting with a little band that starts with a 3, and the middle is an O, and the ending is a 3. So, yeah, I'll have fun tearing that apart. So, anyways, I'll be starting that tonight, actually. And, yeah, with that, you can click right here to see my 21 Pilots ranked. Hint number 2 is regional best. You can have fun with that. Anyways, you can also click right here to subscribe if you don't want to click down there. I don't know why you would click down there. You could choose. It's your choice. I don't know. But, yeah, anyways, with that, I hope you have a good day.